All right, adding and subtracting decimals. So we're going to lump these together because the rules are the exact same. And that's exactly what some of these are. They're rules. They are things you need to follow in order to be successful with these problems. So the very first part is when I'm given a problem, say 34 and 95 hundredths plus 21 and 3 hundredths, I must take this horizontal problem and write it vertically. Okay, an easy way to remember horizontal is think about looking at the horizon. It's side to side. Vertically is up and down. When I'm writing my problem vertically, I must line up my decimal points. So that is the most important part of adding and subtracting decimals, is making sure that the decimal point is lined up. After I solve my problem, I drop my decimal point straight down. Okay, so wherever it's lined up, it comes straight down into the sum or difference. And then if I have any missing place values, I put a 0 to hold that place. And when I do an example, you'll see what I mean. When given a whole number like 84, my decimal point is after the 4. So it's really kind of like 84.0 or 0 or 0. You can keep going. You can put as many zeros as you need to for that. Then moving on now to some of our examples. So 46 and 98 hundredths. And I'm adding 18 and 37 hundredths. So 8 plus 7 is 15. 9 plus 1 is 10. Plus 3 is 13. Bring my decimal point straight down. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 8 is 15. And then I get 6. So 65 and 35 hundredths ends up being the answer to my first example. When you're doing these, practice on reading and saying those decimals in words and not saying 65.35. We want to really try to make sure we get away from doing it that way. 92 and 5 hundredths added to 51 and 763 thousandths. So here's where I have a missing place value in the top number, and so I'm actually going to put a 0. I could have put 51 on top because I know that there are more numbers behind the decimal point, but regardless, I would have still had to put a 0 when 92 would have been on the bottom. So it doesn't matter with adding. Adding things up, I get a 3. 6 plus 5 is 11. 8. And then 9 plus 5 is 14. So 143 and 813 thousandths ends up being my answer for the second example of addition. For subtraction, remember, we're always going to make sure that the largest number is on top. And lining up my decimal point. So I'm missing a place value, so I will put in that 0. And subtracting now, okay, really important that we pay attention to the sign. 4, 3, come over here and borrow. Decimal point straight down. Borrow again. So 45 and 334 thousandths ends up being the correct answer to my third example. And lastly, I have 193. And then I have subtract 27 and 67 hundredths. Well, I have to remember that my decimal point is here, and I'm seeing that there are 2 places past the decimal in my number I'm going to subtract by. So I'm going to put 2 decimal places there to begin with. So now I need to make sure that I come all the way over to the 3, which is in the ones place, and borrow from there. And then bring that all the way across. And then borrow again. 12 subtract 7 is 5. 8 subtract 2 is 6. So 165 and 33 hundredths ends up being our final answer for the last example. Use these notes and examples to help you solve the 10 problems on your assignment.